This is the Cerwin Vega. So I went ahead and used the top plate, 4-inch top plate, as a sort of a gap filler, I guess. And then went ahead and went with the thick top plate. And this is the normal gap, which fits the quad coil, 8-layer. See? And the client is upgrading from a thick top plate 1K motor, and so he wanted a black textured frame, which he's going to get. And then he gets this coil about right there, and then he's getting the 5 series cone with a prototype cap I just got in. It is this one, 5 series, and then this is the it's more of a oxidized penny color. It's like a copper color. So there's a brand I'm developing called Copperhead Audio, but I'm developing it for a movie, because that's really the way you should launch an audio brand, is not on the internet. Internet's stupid. You should really launch it in a movie platform where you got like Seth Rogen going, I love blah blah blah, this brand, blah blah blah. And then everybody's like, I love Seth Rogen, I love audio, I'm gonna buy 1,000 woofers, and that's what happens. So this is this one. I think we ended up out the door at $250, which is really reasonable considering this thing's fucking monster. So I did want to mention one of the reasons why I'm actually, the feedback I've been getting has been very good about these videos. So one of the reasons why I started Robot in the first place, I wanted to work from home. The reason why I wanted to work from home was because I was a little kid, and my dad was a truck driver, and he was on the road a lot. And I'd have these really sad dreams where I thought I'd hear his footsteps out back, and I'd run to the backyard, look over the fence, and because we had a road right behind us, and Dad wasn't there. Oh, so sad. So I promised myself a long time ago that I would work from home for my kids, so that I would always be there for them. Well, it turns out the town that I grew up in used lots of pesticides, and me and like all my friends from elementary school can't have kids. So that's how that works. But these are my children, and I have like 5 dogs, so that helps. But I get to help you guys work from home, because that's the biggest change I can help someone achieve in their life. In fact, one of the goals for our church is to help people, families, work from home. Because if you can make $1,000 a week cash at home, you're as good as anybody. And really, that's the reason why we go to work in the first place. So now you get all your time back. You get to be with your kids. You probably work more like I do. I work probably 12, 14-hour days. And but I love what I do. And if I want to blow off the afternoon, I can. In fact, I finally whittled my schedule down to the gates are closed Monday through Thursday. So not that I'm just back here, jerking my gherkin, but if I wanted to, I could. Haha. I'm very busy typically with mail order stuff, because we want to transfer to mail order. I want to get out of this location and go to someplace out in the middle of nowhere where it doesn't matter where I'm at, because it's just a big warehouse in the middle of a fucking wilderness. But that's super cheap, by the way. That's where you want to be. But I don't know where I'm going with this. Oh, motors. Still got to zap these motors. Waiting for me. Like the darkness. Working from home. You can do this at home, man. That's how I got my start, was in 2003. I used to dumpster dive over at Orion, where this thing was, this coil, and their magnetizer. And I was dumpster diving there, and Pat, who now owns part of Precision Powder Coat, who was one of the powder coat companies that Orion and PPI used to use, which of course was Bernie Boland. Pat caught me digging in the dumpster, and he's like, "Can I help you?" I'm like, "Hey man, I'm looking for some boxes." which I was looking for boxes because the boxes had the little speaker plugs in them. And then I'd sell the speaker plugs on eBay because they were selling them for like $70. And I was like, fuck it. If I can get 25, I'm good, you know, because that's free $25. So he said, yeah, there's going to be an auction tomorrow. Orion's going out of business. And the parent company for Orion, the holding company, ADST, who was the parent for ADS Technologies, Apogee, Orion, and at the time PPI. So they went bankrupt, and they had to sell all the assets off to pay the bank. And the brand names went to DEI. DEI bought them probably for only like $250,000, real cheap. That was a really good deal for them. Congressman Darrell Issa and his electronics company. So, but yeah, and then I told my wife, hey, I'm going to spend $500 at this auction. And I went that next day, and what's weird is typically at an auction, you got to bring cash. And they were like, no, we'll take credit cards. I was like, what? So I spent $5,000, which she did not like. However, the Sunday that we were loading up everything, because I had to get my neighbor in his trailer and all that stuff, and I had to grease his wheels. But as soon as we were getting the stuff home, I got a call from a headhunter telling me that they're like, look, hey, do you want to teach electronics in the Bay Area for AT&T? And I was like, sure. And that was the last job I ever had. And that was really just a vacation because at the time, this was March of 2003. The union there at AT&T, which was later bought by Singular, they were bluffing the union. The union was like, we're going to strike. And then AT&T was like, fuck you, we're going to replace you. And so I was part of the squad that came in and made it look like we were training people. Even though we had no equipment, we didn't even have a computer so we had to like make believe every day. And I had to, I was like, fuck it, I might as well teach these guys electronics and some basic stuff. And that was the last job I ever had. And it paid so well. It was like $800 a day plus expenses. They paid for my rental car. I got to fly my wife up there, and we got to have a little San Francisco vacation, and it was nice. And that was the last job I ever had. So then I came home, and I had a garage and a porch and a bedroom and other stuff filled with just random weird shit from the auction. And I sold that on eBay. I started selling on eBay. And then I found that Orion, the new company owned by DEI, did not want to support all the old stuff, all this old school stuff that you love, because they didn't make any money from that. They wanted you to buy the new Chinese stuff. And so that's where I sort of fell into a niche, and I was able to support the community and give you guys all kinds of stickers and plugs, and that was a good time. And then we came across more deals, and I don't know, the rest is sort of history. But what I'm saying is that if a dummy like me can do it, you can too. And so the way you can start is just simply by finding dead woofers in your area. Sometimes, you start out advertising them because it's way cheaper for you to get a dead woofer and repair it than it is to buy from China. Like I said, I still don't even buy motors from China or woofers from China because it's so fucking expensive. The minimums have come down. And also, if you're willing to buy a woofer that like they also sell, like say in Germany or Europe or somewhere else in another market that's not competing with yours, that's fine. You can actually buy off of Alibaba and find some pretty good deals. Again, the problem is going to be the tariffs and the shipping. And that's why for me, it was easier and cheaper. Like on this deal, this is from Volcano Audio. I got to know people. I got to meet Dan Wiggins back in 06 CES through a piece of shit, Sergi. And but I made friends with Dan, and Dan liked me. And so when Dan sold his brand to this, what was his name? Some dickhead who ended up ripping everybody off. Dan still needed to get rid of the materials that he had up there in Washington, and so he sold a lot to me. And then when other brands would come up, like they were running into the same problem, we had the same opportunity for Mats. Mats decided to not build in the US. I don't know if they build now, but at the time he was getting rid of it. And so you get these price lists and you're like, fuck. And they're like, that is cheap. but you got to buy, pallets worth of shit. And so that's what I started doing. I started maxing out credit cards and just buying all kinds of stuff and kind of winging it. So, but we've acquired a huge chunk of a dyer. I missed out on a lot of that stuff. They had probably, gosh, he said it was at least 200 pallets of Super Gauss ferrite from South America. That was just top grade. And it all ended up going to the scrapyard. That was for a dyer. That was back in 2007. And then little did I know that TC Sounds was going through the same heartache. And Tilo started selling me a bunch of stuff. I went onto the forums. He had his own forum that was, I think it was called SPL Junkyard. And they had like TC9 motors on there. No, TC7 motors for like $15 and TC9 motors for $45, and nobody was buying them. And so I come in, this is how I make enemies, right? I go in and I go, hey, shit, I'll take them all. How many you got? Load them up on a pallet. And so then I put like whatever, $2,000 on a credit card. And then all of a sudden I'm an asshole because I'm hogging all the motors. I'm like, you guys had the same opportunity. You could have fucking did it. No, you guys fucking didn't. Because you're selfish, you pieces of shit. You got to think about other people. You got to think about making other people happy, not just yourself. That's the biggest mistake you guys make, these stereo heads. You got to think about how to solve other people's problems, not just yours. So me, I've solved the problem of all the woofers I fucking want, right? But by thinking about other people. So we bought out a big chunk of TC Sounds. We got a whole bunch of those lightning cones and all that stuff. And then, I got a call from the bankruptcy. Was it a lawyer? It was, I think it was a representative for the bank that TC Sounds ended up owing. And then at that auction, who was it? Scott Atwell of RE Audio, who I met back in 2006 with Dan Wiggins, and Sergio introduced me to him at RE over there in Vegas. We went there for CES. And Scott had bought the patent from Tilo or from TC Sounds of the 6-spoke frame, the 6-spoke this one. So he bought the rights to that one, which is also the 15 and the 18. That's what's included in the patent. And then fast forward, God, that was back in 2007. So fast forward almost 15 years. Scott got smart and he realized that people are going to use this frame anyway, no matter what, because it's open tool in China. So technically Scott still owns the patent, but it's an ornamental patent. It's expired. And because I got a couple threatening emails from some of his cronies. They were like, you can't use that frame. You can't. I was like, fuck you. But he got smart. Scott got smart. And what you do is you pimp it out. You pimp out that frame. So like when I went to go buy, I was pricing the 12-spoke frame, or the 12-inch frame, which is this one. The 12-inch and the 10-inch use 4 spokes. Well, Scott's version uses 6 spokes, which makes it stronger. And if you look on the FI website, that's what he offers. So that's something really fucking unique. And he's be able to use his position to create more income for himself, more income streams. So he took something that was a patent, which ended up being a lemon, and he made some fucking lemonade. That's what you got to do. So look around in your area and find the lemons, man. Stereo places fucking throw these out. Distributors, if you live in a metropolitan area, you're going to have a distributor that like sells kicker to like 3 dealers, and that's because each dealer can't buy enough to be a dealer on its own, an independent dealer. And so the other thing is doing recones. Some guy brought these in. These are now, they stopped making them in 2014, and I'm starting to get a whole bunch of them now. And guess who invested in coils back then? Me. And I made improvements on the coil. I did 30% more wind height, and then thank baby Jesus for Wayne and Drew from Diamond, who went over to Rockford and developed the new T2 and the T3 series for Rockford. And they, if it's not broke, don't fix it. They kept the same gap dimensions on the T2. Here, I'll show you that one. Got a guy that wants to buy a 12-inch version. We're going to run into problems on that one because I think the motor's too big. This guy. So, and that's the adapter I developed, so you can remove the top. Fancy. Again, just turn lemons into lemonade. So, but I got boxes and boxes of these dual 1 and dual 2 coils that I bought and paid for with PE. Even though I made payments to those guys, John was so graceful with me. See? And that's when John left, my credit left with them. So, because I got a little late during their recession. I paid them, but I got a little late. And so they're like, no more credit. And I was like, oh, fuck. Well, and then I don't know, nothing against her. I'm sure she's a smart lady, but she wasn't returning any of my emails. And she left, and I already told you, fuck PE, because once you get that slow, then you might as well just order from China. Even if it's air freight, it's still worth it, because China is so much more affordable. So, but I'm giving this information because I want you guys to make money. It's your right. It's your God-given right to make money at home. Now, if you call it a business, that's something different, because now you're stepping into the realm of the government, because the government decides if you get a business or not. And guess what? If you just fill out the paperwork, guess what? You're approved. The problem is that they now control you, or at least they control that business, right? Like we saw in the pandemic. They said, close, you better fucking close, you're going to jail. And some churches found out, oh, maybe we shouldn't have incorporated. Yeah, because now you're a corporation, you're not a church anymore. You go, but we function as a church, it doesn't matter. You've asked permission from the government, right? That's what a marriage license is. Marriage licenses started on the plantations. When two slaves wanted to get married, they had to get approval from the master. So they said, Master, can we please get married? And he's like, I don't know. How high can you jump? That sounds fucked up. That's the kind of shit they did. Okay, so don't fucking blame me. But anyways, when two slaves wanted to get married, that's what they had to do. They got to get a marriage license, marriage certificate. So, and if you look up the definition of license, it's a permit to do something that would otherwise be illegal. Okay, so that goes with driver's license, pet license, those things. And you got to remember the government, and remember, government is people. So enforcement is always flexible, whether they say so or not. But the best thing you can do is not be under their jurisdiction. How can you not be under their jurisdiction? Don't be what they call a person, right? Last election cycle with Mitt Romney was talking about how persons can be people too. What he was talking about is corporations and other entities like a union, labor union, that required permission to exist, right? But now gets all these quote unquote freedoms and benefits and all this other stuff. Under the law, that's what a person is. So every time look in your state, read the state, it's usually called, like here in Arizona, they're called Arizona Revised Statutes, or ARS. They're not called laws because they're not laws. They're rules, they're regulations that govern businesses or persons, okay? Understand what they're talking about. Just because they say person, you think of human being. Guess what? You're wrong. And that's why the cops are able to get away with murder and do all the cool, fucking lame shit that they do, all right? And that's why the government can abuse you and force you to do stuff that you didn't think they could. They can. Why? Because they are saying that you're a person, and if you don't contest that, and if you don't make it crystal fucking clear that you're not a person, guess what? Then they have authority over you. So, the best thing for you to do is lay low, right? That's why it's called underground, right? Harriet Tubman did not advertise the Underground Railroad, even though a lot of people did support her, right? So you can be ugly and underground too in your area, and start dumpster diving. Start finding, look at this. Some guy brought this in, and I gave him $10 for it, right? The motor alone, if I sold it on eBay, that'd be worth that. People buy those for like $100. But I'll recone it as a round sub, probably as a 12, and sell it for like 150. And it fucking pounds. People love it. Oh, last thing, we're only running on 20 minutes here. This was the one I used the other day for the gap dimensions video. I really like how big this top plate is. This top plate is actually quite large. It's probably looks about 9 inches in diameter. And so I want to use it with some large diameter slugs, but I want to trim this and then extend it. So I want to make some sort of massive, like Twisted Sounds 2.5 inch beast out of this thing, because it's only one slug. This is the SDV3, which is their shallow. But anyways, I love you guys. Stay underground. Stay safe.